What does year 2 of Mike Rhoades at Penn State look like? I'm going to break down some of the film on both the offensive and defensive side of what I think Penn State could try and do this season. Last season, no team ran a higher percentage of their plays out of pick and roll than Penn State. Basically, everything that Penn State did was out of pick and roll one way or another. That's headlined by lead guard Ace Baldwin Jr., who the offense ran through a ton. And so I'm going to go through some plays, and a lot of it is going to revolve around the pick and roll and getting opportunities from that. So in this play, you're going to see Baldwin threw it to the wing. Sometimes Baldwin just gets a pure screen right at the top to start. Other times they try to kind of run some decoy action, set up different looks elsewhere, and that's what's going to happen here. Baldwin's going to flow off of this kind of pin down into a handoff, and then immediately followed by another screen. And this is where Baldwin is good. Once he can get downhill, he wants to be able to just kind of try to create space, either hit a cutter like right here, get to a pull-up, or just kind of a little bit of floater like he did right there. So then we're going to look at another pick and roll for Baldwin right here. Baldwin's going to be out on this wing. You're going to see him cut through, goes to Clary, and then eventually back to Baldwin. And so a lot of the stuff is just going to end with Baldwin getting the ball and then getting a pick and roll right here. Now last time, remember, he drove all the way and kind of got to a floater. He's pretty good at that, but he also does go to the pull-up a lot. And this one right here, if he sees that if this defender is going to go underneath the screen, Baldwin has the green light to really kind of either just step back or just straight pull up from three. And so a lot of that stuff is going to be what he does as well. Now, Baldwin was one of the best facilitators in the entire conference last season. And again, a lot of that comes out of pick and roll and what he's able to do for creation that wise. So Penn State flowing through their offense, kind of moving the ball around along the perimeter, looking for different pick and roll opportunities. Ball gets to Baldwin right here. He does a good job of refusing the screen immediately and getting downhill. And once he can get downhill, he does a very good job a lot of times of kind of putting this defender in jail, keeping them on his hip, on the back. And so that way, like, he can't really get back into place. And sometimes that kind of change of tempo where he's not going full speed, but kind of slow things up. That'll allow like a cutter to happen, which is going to hit what's happened here. And Baldwin's going to hit the cutter and then get a layup for the team. Ace Baldwin is not the only guy that'll run pick and roll for Penn State. Last year, Kanye Clary did a lot, but he's no longer on Penn State. But there are other guys as well, and one of them is going to be Nick Kern. And so he's going to be the one bringing the ball up here. Now, Kern is not a shooter at all. It's pretty well known on the scouting report. He's not really going to shoot the ball, but he's pretty wiry, pretty athletic, and so that allows him to just kind of get downhill. So you can see the drag screen right here. And this big for Northwestern probably is just a step out of place. Kern notices that, and it's just going to get downhill. And so even with even with Barnheiser going under on the screen, because that's what this, like, you're going to do that with, he's non-shooter, Kern just still has the ability to really be able to get downhill and just kind of rise up and go over the top of the defense. A guy I am interested in seeing if he gets more kind of on-ball reps is DeMarco Dunn. He was mainly an off-ball guy last season, but with Penn State had both Baldwin and Clary on the floor, those are two very like high usage on-ball guys, so it makes sense that Dunn is more off-ball. But I think there's potential for more of a role of him being able to get kind of looks off or more on-ball. So it's going to be him right here on the swing, and he's going to get this screen. And even here, you see like this is him catching off-ball and then still going, whereas maybe this season it's a little bit more of a set, like, hey, here's the ball, we're going to set you something so that way you can go and create. But either way, catches here, goes off the screen, and then just gets to this pull-up, does a nice job getting to the shot, and I'm curious to see how much it's used. So now the other aspect of the pick and roll is the roll, and I think Penn State did a good job of getting a transfer in Yannick Niederhauser, somebody that is like a 7-footer, can come in and really just kind of roll, help kind of get a show of presence at the rim. So you're going to see this is going to be Niederhauser right here. He's going to be setting this drag screen against Iowa, and just immediately he's going to slip. And I think what makes him really a viable roller is he has some like good fluidity in terms of his movements, and I think he has pretty good hands as well. So now as he slips, he gets past the defense. Iowa is going to be late help rotating over to help, and so now Niederhauser is just able to go up and dunk. And I think Baldwin's going to really enjoy having a legit roller like him. Now, I talk about the roll because last year they did have Qudus Wahab, who is also a pretty good roller. And so just another similar concept, this is something that Penn State would run a lot. You have two screeners right here. But Hicks is pretty much always just going to be popping out to the 3-point line. That's what he's going to do. We will talk about that more in a second. And now you have this legit screen from Wahab, and now his Baldwin can really just get downhill. If Baldwin gets 2 feet in the paint, good things are generally going to happen, especially if he is facilitating more than scoring. And so right here, I mean, he's just able to draw in the big defender right here, throw this wraparound pass to the roller and Wahab, let him go up and get the bucket. Now, on the last play that I just showed, we talked about, or I briefly mentioned Zach Hicks being a pick and pop guy. We're going to go through that this play because, again, Hicks is just going to be a pick and pop guy. You're going to see him here. He plays the 4, but he is definitely just a stretch 4 wanting to step out to the 3-point line. So a lot of his screens, you're even going to see here, he doesn't really make too much contact. He's going to set a lot of ghost screens, and so what that is he's going to act like he's screening, and then he just kind of slips out behind and pops out. And so the goal is, because especially if teams like switch, generally they're taught you switch on the contact of the screen, but if there's no actual contact, sometimes it can cause miscommunications defensively. Or like here, when they're in transition and Hicks is able to set this drag screen, nobody picks him up, and now he's just going to get a wide open 3. The pick and roll also helps create just legit catch and shoot looks for other guys, and so we're going to go through a couple examples of that. And it can't be overstated how much pick and roll Penn State runs. They really just do kind of give it to their guards, especially Ace Baldwin, and let them go to work. So similar concept again, double screen. Now you're going to have Hicks kind of popping, a true big rolling. And what you see right here is, so with Minnesota being in this hedge, the big coming up, really good slip by Wahab. That's a great way to beat the hedge, because now as he rolls, it puts all the pressure on this low man here. He has to guard the roller and also his guy out on the perimeter. Baldwin's just reading the low man. Okay, he sees, okay, he came over to guard the roll. We have Hicks right here with his guy still on him. That means the skip pass is going to be there. And a guy like Puff Johnson is the perfect example of a guy that's a lot of catch and shoot. DeMarco Dunn fit into that category last year. Zach Hicks to a degree. And then Nick Kern would be a guy that would catch and drive, but just getting good looks based off of what Ace Baldwin's able to do in pick and roll. So another example of creating a catch and shoot look here. And like the first play, this is going to start with Baldwin kind of cutting through, and this is very common for Penn State to run. Cut through, and then he's curl, and it's going to be essentially like Chicago action, which is a pin down into a handoff. But then Penn State takes it one step further. They like merge Miami action into it, which is a handoff into a pick and roll. Basically, pin down, handoff, screen. That's what Penn State's going to do for Ace Baldwin. IU in this high hedge again. So now somebody has to kind of guard the roller. Renew takes him. And so I think this is a little bit of IU's miscommunication of either Galloway has to step up to Hicks on this pass right here and Renew X out to the corner. Either Mbako has to take the roll or Galloway should just take the roll probably. But none of those really happen. So now there's a late closeout to Hicks on the perimeter. And that is the absolute guy you do not want to leave open if you are a defense. Now defensively, Penn State wants to speed you up. They want to force turnovers, and they just want to kind of create havoc. They don't have the best kind of interior defense. We'll talk about that more in just a minute, but they rely on their guards. They have their defense set up so that their guards can gamble for steals a lot and just really try and create deflections, turnovers, etc. One way that they do that is they'll full court press. I mean, you can see 16 minutes left in the first half, so this is pretty early in the game. Sometimes it's a full like, hey, we're going to trap you back here, but a lot of times they kind of do this. So, you know, most times, especially if it's like a man press, teams will get the ball to their ball handler and have everybody just clear out. Penn State knows this, and so right around in this area, they're just going to have, you see Baldwin, he's going to recognize, hey, we're getting close. Clary's going to be kind of pushing up too for a steal, and that's where you can kind of get jumped. And then Baldwin's going to be able to come in, get the deflection, get the steal, and then go the other way. Penn State was number 23 in the entire country in defensive turnover percentage. They forced a lot of steals, highlighted by Ace Baldwin, who is the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. And so, I mean, you're going to see even here, Hicks fronting the post, just trying not to allow a pass into there. So now nothing happens. They're going to set up a little pick and pop action. Okay, now Illinois keeps moving the ball. And this is where kind of the deflections and turnovers can come into play. Ace Baldwin's out of position here. Like he's out of position. He's not going to be able to really get through the screen. But with one, Illinois slipping, so there's no real contact, and two, Baldwin just having really quick hands, he's now able to just, even though he's out of position and never gets back in front, he's going to be able to gamble for the steal. And Penn State's cool with that. They want to try to just create turnovers like this. Baldwin has such good hands that he's able to kind of get the back tap and now force a steal, force a turnover. And just in general, Penn State has a very aggressive defensive style. Even if it isn't just Baldwin purely one-on-one, a lot of times the other defenders too as well. And so sometimes they'll just really play up in the passing lanes. And so, or like a play like this where they're just going to really try and trap and push the ball handler out towards the half court line. And so now they're going to be able to create a deflection. And once they create a deflection, that's when good things are going to happen for them. So here, this is more of a wing and Hicks defending the pick and roll. He's going to come out and hedge. And then they have high hands, and a lot of guys, especially Baldwin, just have such quick hands. You think you have a passing lane, but you just ultimately don't. Now it's a deflection, and now it's going to be going the other way. Now, I think one part of the reason that Penn State's so aggressive defensively on the perimeter, one, Mike Rhoades style, but two, they did really struggle on the interior defending, especially at the rim. They allowed a lot of shots at the rim, and they were only in the 24th percentile in terms of defensive efficiency. But we're going to look at an example here. Alex going to flow into a handoff for Tominaga, and you're just going to see like the defender right here for Penn State, the big man, he's just going to be kind of caught. And so one, Tominaga is a really good shooter. You have to respect that. But you're going to see once the roller gets behind, there's just not a ton of help because Penn State loves to play more in the passing lanes, be aggressive. And so now there's guys that could just get a lot of good shots at the rim. And that's where I think a guy like Yannick Niederhauser or incoming freshman Miles Goodman could play a big role defensively of being more of a true kind of defensive anchor for Penn State. And so we're going to look at Niederhauser here. He's going to be here defending the screen. He's more of a drop coverage big where he's just going to be kind of scooting back. So as the screen comes off, he's going to be making sure that the ball handler and the roller just both stay in front. And so here, I mean, you're just going to see he just has the ability to kind of time up shots, be able to create deflections, and just ultimately block shots at the rim. And Penn State's going to need that from him. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe and click here for even more Penn State preview content.